The beginning of a salvation. It was the year 1832. In the silent and dark streets of Baghdad, a man was walking quietly. He wore old clothes and carried a small box in his hand. Inside that box were a few diamonds, some gold, and a family's hope for survival. David Sassoon. He was an important treasurer of the Ottoman Empire. But in those times, political conflicts and religious divisions had turned the Jewish people into targets. Wealth no longer meant safety. Sassoon gathered his family and fled in secret, first to Persia, then to Basra, and finally, by ship, to India. The only thing he truly brought with him was not the jewels, but his merchant's intelligence. That intelligence, within a few short years, would give birth to a power that changed the course of the world. But no one that night could have known that one family's escape would evolve into one of history's most mysterious trades. A new beginning in Bombay. India was under British colonial rule. The port of Bombay buzzed with ships from all over the world. Cotton, spices, silk, tea. But there was one product no one dared to say aloud: opium. The British were cultivating opium in parts of India and selling it to China. The Chinese people had become so addicted that the nation itself was slowly dying. When David Sassoon arrived in Bombay, the British had monopolized the opium trade, but they needed local partners. Sassoon immediately saw the opportunity. He befriended the British, purchased transport routes, and soon became a well-known name in the trade. But he wasn't just another trader. He understood something deeper. If a product causes addiction, that addiction can turn you into an empire. The empire of opium. After the 1,840 seconds, opium trade exploded. Thousands of chests were shipped to China every year. Each chest could carry 125 kilograms of opium, enough to poison tens of thousands of people. The Sassoon family managed to control the trade. Within a short time, they had warehouses in Calcutta, Bombay, and Hong Kong. According to many records, by the 1,850 seconds, they controlled nearly 70% of the world's opium trade. The family became known as the Rothschilds of the East. Just as the Rothschilds ruled Europe's finance, the Sassoons dominated Asia's power. But behind their growing wealth lay death. In China, opium addicts filled the streets, homes, schools, ports, everywhere. An empire was being built, while another was being destroyed from within. And in every stage of that destruction, the Sassoon fortune grew exponentially. The Opium Wars. China was forced to ban opium. Warehouses were burned. Smugglers punished. For Britain, that was a declaration of war. In 1839, the First Opium War began. The British bombarded China, and behind the scenes, the Sassoon fortune played a critical role in financing the war. Many of the ships used in battle were supplied thanks to Sassoon money. China lost the war. The Treaty of Nanking was signed. Hong Kong was handed over to Britain, and the opium trade resumed. The Sassoons called it the best investment return in history. The price of opium skyrocketed, and so did their wealth. They were no longer just traders. They had become a power capable of shaping wars. The shadow reaches London. David Sassoon grew old, and he passed his empire to Albert Abdullah Sassoon. Albert didn't just trade for profit. He traded for legitimacy. He moved to England, invested heavily, and made generous donations. Queen Victoria knighted him. He became Sir Albert Sassoon. The family was now no longer viewed as suspicious merchants, but as respected figures in British society. They founded enormous banks in London, while continuing the opium trade in secret. The source of the money hadn't changed. Only its appearance had. The wealth built on poison was now circulating through banks, real estate, and insurance companies. The poison had simply changed form. A two-faced fortune. The Sassoons built hospitals, schools, and synagogues. People were grateful for these institutions. Yet every building, every brick, was financed by the profits of addiction. Humanity ignored it, because the one with money is always the hero of the story. And the Sassoon family were among history's best storytellers. The Second Opium War and China's fall. In 1856, China once again banned the sale and use of opium. This time, Britain and France united. The Second Opium War erupted, and as expected, China lost again. Beijing was devastated. The empire's power collapsed. And from that point on, China entered a century of decline. Opium was no longer just a drug. It was a geopolitical weapon. The Sassoons were the financial backbone of Britain's war effort. Every new treaty, every new shipment meant more profit for them. Shanghai, the new kingdom. Over time, the family expanded into Shanghai. China had opened to the West, and merchants, journalists, and adventurers flooded in. Among them, shining brightest, was the Sassoon family. Victor Sassoon became the face of this new era. He built a grand hotel in the heart of Shanghai, the Cathay Hotel, known today as the Fairmont Peace Hotel. Victor hosted lavish parties while managing financial networks across Europe. The family's fortune rose once again, but the world was slipping back into chaos. In 1937, Japan invaded China. Bombs exploded in Shanghai's streets. The Sassoons' power began to crumble. Their assets were seized, ports looted. And in 1949, China's communist regime confiscated everything. The once Rothschilds of the East lost their empire overnight. The final legacy. During the war, Victor Sassoon helped Jewish refugees fleeing Europe. He sheltered thousands in his Shanghai hotels, saving them from capture. It was as if the family was seeking redemption. But humanity is not so forgiving. After the war, the Sassoon name faded into obscurity. Their companies dissolved. Their properties were sold. Yet the system they built still influences the modern world. Some historians argue that today's banking systems, insurance networks, and patterns of international trade were all shaped by the Sassoons' foundation. Their power didn't vanish. It simply became invisible. Power, morality, and silence. The Sassoon family taught us this. Power isn't always built with guns or armies. Sometimes it's built through addiction. If you can make a nation dependent, you'll never need to control it by force. Today, that addiction may not be opium, but debt, consumerism, endless advertising, digital distractions. Opium has turned into the screen, but the system remains the same, and the mindset of those who built it still shapes our modern world. The price of wealth. David Sassoon once fled a war, but in the end, he built a kingdom of his own. His family created empires, cities, and saved lives. but also destroyed millions. This story is neither pure success nor total failure. It is the cycle of humanity itself, to seek power, to gain it, to defend it, and finally, to die in its embrace. Perhaps the true discomfort is not the possession of power, but knowing how it was earned and still trying to sleep peacefully. The story of the Sassoon family may now rest in the hidden corners of history, but their lessons and shadows still move quietly, powerfully through our world. Because some fortunes are made not of gold or jewels, but of humanity's darkest addictions. The Sassoon family, the kings of opium, the silence behind power, and that mysterious silence still lingers among us.